There's been a lot of attention this week from Capitol Hill and to many individual states on a topic that is affecting so many households across our country: sextortion. The FBI calls this form of online coercion modern day terrorism, as cases are surging, some of them leading to people's deaths. In Wisconsin, Governor Tony Evers signed Bradyn's law this week, which creates a new crime for sexual extortion. It is in honor of the 15-year-old who died by suicide in March after being targeted by a predator online who convinced him to send photos of himself and told him that he needed to send money or face major consequences. Bradyn's parents, Luke and Brittany Bird, are joining me now. Thank you so much for your time and turning your pain into a purpose that could really help others.
Absolutely. And thank you for giving us a platform to be able to continue to share this message even further. It's so important, and that's one of the reasons why we're able to get this message out. It's people like you guys who ask about it and want to share.
Listen, I think it could help so many people. It's a struggle for all parents and guardians, I think, because we didn't come up in the age of internet and social media to really understand all of the ins and outs that go into it. But I'd like you just to take me back. First, just tell me about Bradyn.
Bradyn was a fantastic athlete. He's a great big brother. His sister just turned 9 on March 8th.
Yeah.
He was a great student, did very well academically, still liked to mess around in class, but did well, had a great group of friends, very active, had a big future ahead of him that he definitely wanted to live out.
Yeah, he was just a really good kid, and really at 15 starting to set goals and work towards those things, and just really good habits. I guess everything you'd want to see as a parent, in your child growing, and seeing those habits and behaviors going in the right direction. And he was very goal orientated.
Yeah, a good kid who's online like all kids these days. And how did he end up interacting with these people who took things to a totally different level?
He was initially contacted on Facebook Messenger and then was asked to switch to a different messaging app called Telegram, which we weren't familiar with. But there's a lot of these apps that are end-to-end encryption, and it's a little bit harder to track these kinds of conversations. But it was initially on Messenger on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how long did it go on before you found out what was going on?
Yeah, so our case is ongoing right now, and we really don't have all of those details. All we do know is that the last time that any of us saw him, I came down to his room and just said, "Hey, let's start getting ready for bed here soon. Start winding down," and that was at about 10:45, 11 o'clock. And so, I mean, we can only estimate that it was about 4 or 5 hours, but again, we don't have all of those details as of yet.
Yeah.
But either way, it was very, very quickly.
Have you been able to see through the online, any type of online forensics, I guess, that would be done, how this escalated?
We have learned through other people's stories and experiences who we've talked to that it typically goes the same way. As soon as a photo is sent, it's an immediate change of conversation. The perpetrator will then turn to threats and demands for money. And they'll constantly message. I know there was a case recently and it was like 130 messages in the last 20 minutes.
Oh my.
So they bombard these kids and make them so they can't even process any of it.
Yeah, they definitely keep the pressure on. The second they get what they're looking for, whether that be the photo or they even get money, in our case, we do know that our son did send money, and they just kept pressuring and kept pursuing more. And That's just part of their tactics and what they do.
Yeah. It's like you said, far too many families have these stories nowadays. Have you bonded with some of them? I know this is not a club that any parent would want to be in, but have you been able to bond with each other in sharing your stories?
Yeah, we've actually, it was, I think, the week after Bradyn died, there was a sextortion presentation a couple hours from us that we went to. And John DeMay was there presenting about his son Jordan. And we have been extremely close. We've gone across Wisconsin doing presentations with John. We have a group chat where it's a lot of the parents, and we're able to connect that way. Definitely not a club that anyone wants to be in, but we are in good company with the other families. They're extremely supportive and kind, and they understand. And it's just something that no one else can really get
Mm-hmm.
unless you've lived it. So
Right?
it's validating to have those relationships.
Yeah, yeah. How has it changed your family?
It's been difficult. You know, you talk about just, having that extra chair at the table,
Mm-hmm.
putting Christmas things up, and seeing all of these things. It's been
Um,
hard.
yeah, and we actually just last night, his little sister was having a rough night, and she just told me that she's worried that she's going to forget him
Mm,
and that she has to wait so long to see him again. So talking that out with a 9-year-old
mm,
has been really difficult, but it's definitely brought us all so much closer together.
yeah. I cannot imagine having to deal with your own pain and then also trying to navigate your other children's pain that they are going through at their level of understanding as well. So this law was just signed in honor of your son. How did that make you feel?
I mean, for me, it was a huge first step, and it took a lot of work, and in the legislation perspective, it went through very quickly. Um, we were contacted by a few representatives in our area, within a week after, and this is something that had been worked on previously. Um, so there was a lot of back and forth at first, and how does that look, and what type of the punishment portion, what are we looking at? And there was a little back and forth on that, and ultimately we were very pleased that they decided to go with as high as a Class B felony and carry up to 60 years. Um, it doesn't. We've said this. It doesn't impact our case
Mm-hmm.
because ours won't be tried federally. But the biggest thing for me personally is the fact that it just sends a very strong message that we're not going to put up with this stuff in Wisconsin, and we're going to make you think twice about, partaking in this behavior.
Yeah. When you speak to others now, I mean, what is your message to other parents? Because it is so hard to catch.
So, a lot of the speaking that we've done, we've been able to do like a student portion and then also a community portion in the evening. The parent conversations are a little bit different, right? Those conversations look more like these are what apps you need to look for and decide whether you're going to allow or not allow. This is don't let your kid have their phone in their room at night, all the things that the kids don't want to hear. But also we make sure to share with parents, remember your kids are kids, their brains are not fully developed, they don't have impulse control, they can't see past today. You need to have the conversation with them that I know there are going to be times that you're going to make mistakes. We are here to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we had absolutely had those conversations with Bradyn, but not a conversation surrounding what if this happens, because
Mm-hmm.
we just know to have that conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely, what do you do if you're in that situation? I think one of the big things that we've been messaging to the parents, especially, is how quickly this can happen.
Mm-hmm.
There is one case that we know of that from contact to the point where the child took his life, it was 27 minutes. And then on the opposite end, there was a boy, and I apologize, I don't remember his name offhand, but he was being sextorted for almost 6 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
So in most cases, it is 4 to 6 hours or less, but that's, there are other unique cases that have gone longer also. So, one of the things I just talked about in one of the schools we were at last week with the parents is just think about that. It was 27 minutes from the time this boy was contacted. Uh, how many times have you had your kids, playing video games, or, you think they're talking with friends in their room that you haven't checked on them in that amount of time? So it can happen that quickly.
I think another important piece like that we keep sharing with parents too is this conversation is going to be uncomfortable. But this is our kids' world now. It's so normalized to do things like this. I mean, they meet other kids just online or because they have mutual friends. And there are people online who get paid for nude videos, photos, whatever it may be. So it is so normalized, but then they are so shamed for it by these perpetrators. That's how they feel there's no way out. So having that conversation with parents too, and just saying, this is not the world we grew up in. We cannot sit there and say, I never would have done that. We didn't have these tools in our hands that our kids do. It's just so different.
Yeah. And for them to feel comfortable to talk to you, because it's such a moment of like, okay, am I going to be in trouble? But it could also end up saving their lives.
Okay. And in the student portion of things, we also kind of mention how it's unfair to kids this age that they might have to speak out for their friend. In our case, Bradyn was talking to a friend about what was going on, but his friend didn't know what to do. He didn't know to call us or talk to his mom. So that's another conversation too. It's just like, if you're not comfortable going to mom or dad or another trusted adult and you reach out to a friend, if you're that friend, you've got to say something. If your buddy's going to be mad at you, that's okay. They'll still be here.
Yeah, that's so important for them to know. Let me ask you, I mean, they're speaking to other kids, and then there's speaking to your own that is still living. How hard is that now for you to not do like a helicopter parenting over your child that's still here?
Yeah, that's what's the toughest is, as we said earlier in talking about Bradyn, like he was just doing everything you'd want your teenage kid to do. So we were just gradually giving him a little bit more and more freedom. And obviously, now we regret that. But at the same time, you don't want to invade their privacy too much and like you said, be a helicopter parent, because then they won't come to you. And Bradyn, that's what's just been getting to us the most, is how much Bradyn came to us for things and talked to us about more adult type things, especially Brittany. So, it's just,
I guess we're lucky at this point that Aurora is young enough that, she doesn't have a phone and she won't anytime soon. But I think that the changes that are starting to happen, you even see what just happened in Australia, right? Maybe we are going to be able to adapt or adopt something similar. And then by the time she is in her teen years, there's going to be a whole different process to getting online, being on social media. And so that conversation will likely change. But right now, it's nothing with internet access in your bedroom. If you're, going to be, not that she does much on the internet, she's still small enough that she's still in that little bubble where we don't have to have those internet safety conversations quite as heavy.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your attire today.
So, shortly after this happened, we've had so much support from our community, and these are just a couple of shirts that, people had made up and, we're putting out there for folks. So it's always nice to see these shirts running around town.
Hmm.
It's just a small piece of what the community's done to help us and support us.
Bradyn's friends had a big hand in the LLBB,
Mhm.
Live Like Bradyn Bohn. They just kind of started it and we ran with it, and they've really been rallying behind us, and it's been really great.
Well, I hope that the community continues to love on you, to support you in every way possible. And again, thank you so much for being open and sharing what you've been through, because I truly believe it will save other lives. I know that you wish that you weren't even in a predicament to have to do what you're doing, that your son was still here. But what a beautiful legacy to be able to honor him in this way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. All right, it's 1:18 right now. We'll be right back.